I never thought I would be calling off my own wedding, but life has a way of revealing people's true colors when you least expect it. For 3 years, I believed Amanda was my perfect match, the woman I wanted to build a life with. We had been saving for our dream home, and when we finally found it, I was ecstatic. That 4-bedroom colonial in the suburbs represented everything we had worked for. Then came the bombshell. Amanda insisted the house be purchased solely in her name, despite me contributing 70% of the down payment. If you are watching this, drop a comment, letting me know where you are viewing from. Hit that like button and subscribe to join me as I share how this demand changed everything. Growing up in a middle-class family in Chicago taught me the value of financial responsibility early on. My parents worked incredibly hard to provide for our family, with my dad taking double shifts at the factory and my mom working as a nurse. They instilled in me the importance of saving, planning ahead, and making wise investments. By the time I turned 32, I had established myself as a software engineer with a stable career and healthy savings. I met Amanda at my friend Tyler's barbecue 3 years ago. I still remember the moment she walked into the backyard. She was wearing a white sundress, her curly hair catching the sunlight. Our eyes met across the lawn, and I felt an immediate connection. When Tyler introduced us, the conversation flowed effortlessly. We discovered we both loved hiking, enjoyed the same obscure indie bands, and shared a passion for travel. By the end of the evening, I had her number and a promise for dinner the following weekend. Our early relationship was everything I had hoped for. Amanda was smart, ambitious, and seemed to share my values about life and the future. We both wanted children, loved the idea of suburban life, and enjoyed planning adventures together. Her sense of humor complemented mine perfectly. Where I was reserved, she was outgoing. Where I overthought decisions, she was spontaneous. I truly believed we balanced each other in all the right ways. Amanda grew up quite differently than I did. Her family had considerable wealth from her father's real estate business. She worked as a marketing executive at a prestigious firm, but she had never experienced financial struggle. Her parents had paid for her education, bought her first car, and even subsidized her luxury apartment before we met. Despite these differences, I never thought they would become an issue. She seemed to respect my work ethic and financial discipline. After dating for a year, we decided to move in together. We found a nice 2-bedroom apartment downtown, combining our households and partially merging our finances. We kept separate bank accounts, but created a joint account for shared expenses like rent and utilities. Amanda had more expensive tastes than I did, but I attributed that to her upbringing rather than any character flaw. She wanted designer furniture and premium appliances, while I was content with functional mid-range options. We compromised, splurging on some items while being practical with others. My proposal came at the restaurant where we had our first date. I had arranged everything with the staff beforehand. After our favorite dessert arrived, the server brought a special plate with the ring. As Amanda gasped, I got down on one knee and asked her to be my wife. Her eyes filled with tears as she said yes, and the entire restaurant erupted in applause. That night, we talked excitedly about our future together, the wedding and the home we would buy. House hunting proved more challenging than we anticipated. Amanda wanted a spacious home in an exclusive neighborhood, while I focused on affordability and investment potential. We visited countless properties, each one falling short for different reasons. Too small, bad location, outdated kitchen, not enough bathrooms. The compromises and disappointments sometimes led to tension, but we remained committed to finding our perfect home. While Amanda focused primarily on wedding planning, I concentrated on strengthening our financial foundation. I took on extra projects at work, invested wisely, and cut personal expenses to maximize our house fund. Amanda occasionally made comments about my frugality that stung a bit. Once, when I suggested we eat at home instead of an expensive restaurant, she remarked that I needed to loosen up and enjoy life more. Still, I believed we were working toward the same goal. When we finally found our dream home, everything seemed to fall into place. It was a gorgeous 4-bedroom colonial in a neighborhood with excellent schools. The backyard was perfect for the children we planned to have. The kitchen needed minor updates, but otherwise the house was move-in ready. As we walked through the rooms, Amanda squeezed my hand and whispered, "This is it. I can feel it." I agreed completely. Our excitement was palpable as we discussed how to utilize each room. The smallest bedroom would make a perfect home office until we needed it for a nursery. The finished basement could become a recreation space. We talked about paint colors, furniture arrangements, and minor renovations. I had never seen Amanda so enthusiastic about our shared future. Looking back, there were warning signs I chose to ignore. Occasionally, Amanda would refer to the house as hers rather than ours. When discussing renovations with friends, she would say, "I am planning to remodel the kitchen," instead of, "We are planning." At the time, I dismissed these slips as meaningless semantics rather than indications of a deeper issue. My family, particularly my mother, expressed subtle concerns about Amanda. During a private conversation, my mom mentioned that Amanda seemed to have expensive tastes and entitled attitudes about money. She wondered if we had discussed financial values thoroughly. I defended Amanda, insisting that despite our different backgrounds, we were aligned on what mattered. I wish I had listened more carefully to my mother's intuition. Our meeting with the real estate agent went smoothly as we reviewed initial paperwork. The agent asked about how we wanted to structure the purchase. I naturally assumed we would buy the house jointly, but Amanda remained oddly quiet during this part of the conversation. The agent suggested we consult with our financial advisors before making final decisions, which in retrospect was excellent advice. Around this time, I received wonderful news at work. After years of dedication and consistent performance, I was promoted to senior software architect. The promotion came with a substantial salary increase, allowing us to afford a larger down payment than originally planned. I was thrilled to share the news with Amanda, proud that my hard work was contributing to our future. We celebrated my promotion with dinner at an upscale steakhouse. Over champagne, Amanda congratulated me and expressed how proud she was. As the evening progressed and the alcohol flowed freely, she made a comment that should have alerted me. She casually mentioned that with my increased contribution to the down payment, we could put an even nicer house in her name. I laughed it off as a joke, not realizing she was testing the waters for a conversation that would change everything. The morning everything changed began like any other. I was making coffee when Amanda approached me with a serious expression. She sat at our kitchen island, perfectly manicured nails, tapping the marble countertop, and stated that she wanted the house to be purchased solely in her name. The casualness with which she delivered this bombshell made it even more shocking. At first I thought I had misunderstood. I asked her to clarify, hoping I had simply misheard. But Amanda was crystal clear. She wanted the dream home we had chosen together, the one I was contributing most of the down payment for, to be legally hers alone. I stood there, coffee, forgotten, trying to process what this meant for our relationship. Her justification left me speechless. "My family has more to protect," she explained, with an air of superiority. "They have generational wealth and investments to consider." She spoke as though her family's assets somehow made her contribution more valuable, despite the fact that I was providing the majority of the funds for our home purchase. I calmly reminded her that I would be contributing 70% of the down payment from my savings and recent promotion bonus. Additionally, my credit score was higher, potentially securing us a better mortgage rate. From every logical standpoint, if anyone should have more claim to the house, it would be me, but I wanted us to be equal partners. The dismissive wave of her hand as I spoke made my stomach tighten. She acted as though my financial contribution was inconsequential, a mere detail in her larger plan. "You do not understand how these things work, Jamal," she said with a condescending smile. "This is just how smart people protect themselves." What had begun as a calm discussion quickly escalated into our first serious argument. Amanda insisted that if I truly loved her, I would prove my commitment by putting the house in her name. When I suggested a fair compromise where both our names would be on the deed, she became increasingly agitated. "You are showing me you do not trust me," she accused, turning the situation around to make me feel guilty. After our argument reached a stalemate, I called Tyler my best friend since college. As I explained the situation, there was a long pause on the line. "Man, that is a major red flag," he finally said. He reminded me that marriage was supposed to be a partnership, not a business transaction with unequal terms. His perspective helped validate my concerns, which Amanda had been dismissing as paranoia. While I sought advice from Tyler, Amanda called her mother. When she returned to our conversation hours later, her position had only hardened. Her mother had apparently reinforced her stance, telling her she would be foolish to have my name on the property. The influence of her family became increasingly apparent, and I began to wonder how much of this demand was actually coming from them. The next day, Amanda presented what she called a compromise. I could be added to the deed after we were married, she offered, as though this was a generous concession. When I pointed out that this still required me to take all the initial risk, she became defensive. "Do you not plan to marry me?" she asked accusingly. It was the first time I felt like I was being manipulated through our engagement. Concerned about protecting myself, I spent evenings researching property rights and marriage laws. I learned that homes purchased before marriage typically remain individual property, even after the wedding, unless specifically changed. If the house was solely in her name and our relationship ended, I could potentially lose my entire investment with no legal recourse. The research confirmed my unease was justified. I scheduled a consultation with a financial advisor to get professional guidance. The advisor did not mince words. Putting a house entirely in one person's name, when both are contributing financially, is risky for the non-owner, he explained. He suggested either joint ownership or a legally binding agreement documenting my contribution. When I shared this with Amanda, she accused me of not trusting her and bringing unnecessary third parties into our private matters. As the house closing date approached, Amanda's controlling behavior extended to other financial decisions. She questioned my purchases, suggested I cancel a planned fishing trip with Tyler to save money, yet continued to buy expensive clothes and accessories without consultation. The inconsistency was troubling. She wanted access to and control over my finances while maintaining independence with hers. Every attempt at rational discussion ended in emotional manipulation. When I tried to explain my perspective, using articles and advice from financial experts, Amanda would cry, accuse me of ruining our future, or give me the silent treatment. These reactions made productive conversation impossible and left me feeling emotionally drained and confused. The conflict began affecting other aspects of our relationship. Wedding planning stalled as we reached an impasse over the house. Intimate moments became rare, replaced by tension and unspoken resentment. Friends noticed the change in our dynamic, with Amanda telling them that I was being difficult about the house purchase, painting herself as the reasonable one and me as the problem. As pressure mounted with the closing date approaching, Amanda delivered an ultimatum over dinner at our apartment. "Either the house is in my name or the deal is off," she stated coldly, setting down her wine glass with deliberate precision. The woman across the table suddenly felt like a stranger, not the partner I had loved and trusted for 3 years. The ultimatum led to sleepless nights as I considered my options. I could give in to her demand and hope that she would add me to the deed after marriage as promised. I could walk away from the house we both loved, or I could walk away from the relationship entirely. None of these choices felt right, and the decision weighed heavily on my mind. During this difficult period, I accidentally discovered something that shed new light on the situation. While using Amanda's laptop to print some documents with her permission, an email notification appeared showing a credit card statement. The balance was alarmingly high, over $20,000. When I later asked about it casually, she became defensive and evasive, confirming my suspicion that she had been hiding significant debt. With this new information, I called my parents to discuss the situation. Their concerns were no longer subtle. My father, usually reserved with his opinions about my personal life, was uncharacteristically direct. "Son, this is not how someone who respects you behaves," he said. My mother added that starting a marriage with such deception and inequality would only lead to more problems. Their perspective helped strengthen my resolve. The final heated argument happened the night before we were due to submit our decision to the real estate agent. What started as a calm last attempt at resolution quickly escalated. When I mentioned the hidden credit card debt, Amanda exploded in anger, accusing me of spying on her. In her fury, she revealed her true colors. "You men are all the same, thinking you deserve equal. Say, just because you bring money to the table," she shouted. The contempt in her voice was unmistakable, and in that moment, I saw our future with painful clarity. The true breaking point came when Amanda inadvertently revealed something that chilled me to my core. In the heat of our argument, she let slip that she had already been discussing divorce options with her cousin who worked as a family law attorney. We were not even married yet, still months away from our wedding date, and she was already planning for our divorce. The realization hit me like a physical blow. While I had been planning our life together, she had been planning an exit strategy. I stood in our living room, utterly stunned by this revelation. When I asked her directly about these conversations, her expression shifted from anger to calculated damage control. She claimed I had misunderstood, that she was just being prudent, getting general information. But her eyes told a different story. There was no misunderstanding. The woman I thought I would spend my life with had been preparing for our failure before we had even begun. The pressure intensified when Amanda's family became directly involved. Her father called me the next day, his tone condescending, as he explained that I was being unreasonable. "Be a man and take care of my daughter," he said, as though purchasing a house in her name alone somehow proved my masculinity. Her mother sent lengthy text messages about how disappointed she was in my lack of commitment. Their coordinated effort to manipulate me only strengthened my growing resolve. With the discovery of Amanda's secret debt and financial dishonesty, I began to look at our entire relationship through a new lens. I requested an honest conversation about our complete financial situations. Reluctantly, Amanda revealed she had not just one, but 3 credit cards, with significant balances totaling nearly $35,000 in debt she had never disclosed. This was the woman demanding sole ownership of our house, based on superior financial acumen. As the facade crumbled, Amanda's true personality emerged from behind the mask of the woman I thought I knew. Her sense of entitlement became impossible to ignore. She expected me to shoulder financial responsibilities while relinquishing control and ownership. Her manipulative tactics escalated when she realized I was standing firm. She alternated between tears, anger, and cold silence, whatever she thought might work to get her way. The clarity came during a long drive alone. I had left our apartment after another fruitless argument, needing space to think. As I drove through the city streets past neighborhoods and parks, a weight slowly lifted. I realized that I deserved a partner who valued equality, honesty, and mutual respect. Someone who saw marriage as a true partnership, not a strategic financial arrangement where she held all the cards. The house that had once represented our dream future now symbolized everything wrong with our relationship. The next day, I consulted with a lawyer about my options. He confirmed my concerns about putting the house solely in Amanda's name and advised against it. He also suggested postponing any major financial decisions until the relationship issues were resolved. His professional opinion validated what my instincts had been telling me all along. While I was seeking clarity and protection, Amanda was crafting a narrative that cast me as the villain. Mutual friends began reaching out, concerned about what they had heard. Apparently, Amanda was telling people that I was controlling her financially and trying to take advantage of her family's wealth. The distortion of reality was staggering. But some friends who had known me for years saw through the manipulation and remained supportive. The final piece fell into place when Tyler, who had been my voice of reason throughout this ordeal, revealed something disturbing. His girlfriend was friends with Amanda's sister, who had accidentally mentioned a text exchange between Amanda and her mother. They had been explicitly discussing how to secure assets before the marriage, in case of divorce. The premeditation was clear. They had been planning this strategy long before the house purchase came up. Despite the emotional turmoil, I found strength in the clarity of what needed to be done. I would not compromise on something so fundamental to a healthy relationship. I would not begin a marriage with such a profound imbalance of power and trust. I would not allow myself to be manipulated no matter how painful the alternative might be. Standing my ground was not just about the house anymore, it was about self-respect. Amanda's response was to threaten canceling the wedding if I did not comply with her demands. She delivered this ultimatum via text while I was at work, expecting it would frighten me into submission. Instead, it provided the final push I needed to make my decision. A marriage, beginning with such a threat, was not a marriage I wanted. That night I stayed at Tyler's apartment, needing physical distance to gain perspective. Sitting on his couch, nursing a beer as I explained everything, I felt a strange mixture of grief and relief. Tyler listened without judgment, occasionally offering insights that helped solidify my thinking. Sometimes, you have to lose something you thought you wanted to make room for what you actually deserve, he said. Those words resonated deeply. The next day, Amanda's family escalated their pressure campaign by reaching out to my parents. Her father called my father, attempting to frame me as immature and uncommitted. What he did not anticipate was my father's unwavering support and clarity. My dad simply told him, "My son deserves a partnership based on equality and respect." This conversation ends here. When my father relayed this exchange to me, I felt a surge of gratitude for my family's support. It was during a quiet moment at work, staring at code on my computer screen, but seeing nothing, that I felt the shift inside me. A sense of empowerment replaced the confusion and hurt. I realized I had been allowing external pressures to dictate my choices rather than trusting my own judgment. This house, this relationship, this situation had been revealing fundamental truths about Amanda and about myself. It was time to take control of my narrative. With newfound clarity and determination, I made the decision that would change the course of my life. I would not wait for Amanda to cancel the wedding as threatened. I would not allow her to control even this final act of our relationship. I would be the one to end things on my terms, with dignity intact. The relief that flooded through me with this decision confirmed it was the right choice. I arranged to meet Amanda at a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop, where we had spent many Sunday mornings early in our relationship. When she arrived, her expression was a mixture of defiance and uncertainty. She clearly had not expected me to take the initiative. I remained calm as I told her my decision to cancel the wedding and end our engagement. The house was secondary now. This was about the breach of trust and fundamentally different values. The shock on Amanda's face was quickly replaced by panic as she realized I was serious. Her tactics changed instantly. She backtracked on her demands, claimed she had only been testing my commitment, suggested we could put the house in both our names after all. But it was too late. I had seen behind the mask, and no amount of damage control could unsee what had been revealed about her character and intentions. Later that day, I returned to what had been our shared apartment while Amanda was out. I packed my essential belongings and left the engagement ring on the kitchen counter, with a brief note reiterating my decision. Taking only what was undisputedly mine, I walked away from the life we had been building. Each step toward the door felt like moving toward freedom, despite the undercurrent of sadness for what might have been. As news of our canceled wedding spread among friends and family, I experienced a complex mix of emotions. There was embarrassment at having to explain the situation, grief for the future I had envisioned, but predominantly there was an overwhelming sense of relief. Several friends expressed their private concerns about Amanda, that they had kept to themselves, further validating my decision. I was not the villain in this story. I was someone who had narrowly avoided a profound mistake. The immediate aftermath of canceling a wedding 3 months before the date was logistically and emotionally challenging. There were deposits to cancel, guests to notify, and wedding gifts to return. I handled each task methodically, finding that the practical aspects of undoing our plans helped process the emotional weight of the situation. Some vendors were understanding and offered partial refunds. Others were less accommodating, but the financial loss seemed insignificant compared to what I might have lost had I proceeded with both the marriage and the one-sided house purchase. Tyler offered his guest room while I searched for new housing, an offer I gratefully accepted. His home became a sanctuary during those first difficult weeks, a place where I could begin healing without constant reminders of Amanda. His unwavering support and occasional tough love helped keep me grounded when doubt or regret would creep in. "You made the right call," he would remind me. "The right person will be an equal partner, not someone looking to control you." Amanda was not ready to accept that our relationship was truly over. She made multiple attempts to reconcile each time, with slightly modified demands that she presented as generous compromises. First, she suggested we could put the house in both our names immediately. Then she proposed a legal document, acknowledging my contribution while maintaining the house in her name. Finally, she even offered to sign a prenuptial agreement that would protect my investment. But these tactical adjustments only confirmed that she still did not understand the fundamental issue. This had evolved beyond the house. It was about trust, respect, and partnership. My support system proved invaluable during this difficult transition. Friends organized dinners and outings to keep my spirits up. Colleagues offered understanding and flexibility as I navigated the emotional turbulence. My parents provided both emotional support and practical advice, never once saying "I told you so," despite having expressed reservations about Amanda from the beginning. Their validation helped silence the occasional voice of doubt that questioned whether I had overreacted. After several weeks, I began seeing a therapist to help process the experience. Those sessions were transformative, helping me recognize the patterns of manipulation that had existed throughout our relationship. The therapist pointed out how Amanda had systematically isolated me from friends who questioned her behavior, how she had used emotional outbursts to shut down rational discussions, and how she had established a dynamic where I was constantly seeking her approval. These insights were sometimes painful to acknowledge, but ultimately healing. 6 months after ending our engagement, I found myself in a position to purchase a home on my own. It was smaller than the house Amanda and I had chosen, a 2-bedroom condo in a vibrant neighborhood closer to downtown. But it was mine, purchased with my savings, reflecting my tastes and needs. The day I signed the closing documents with my name alone on the deed, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment and independence. This was not the future I had once envisioned, but it was a future I had chosen for myself. During the months focused on healing and rebuilding, I realized how many friendships had faded during my relationship with Amanda. She had subtly discouraged certain relationships, particularly with friends who were independent thinkers or who questioned her behavior. I made a conscious effort to reconnect with these people, rebuilding bonds that had once been important to me. These renewed connections brought diverse perspectives and genuine support back into my life. The experience transformed my understanding of healthy financial boundaries in relationships. I learned that true partnership means transparency, mutual decision-making, and respect for each person's contribution, whether financial or otherwise. I understood that equal partnerships do not require identical contributions, but they do require equal respect and consideration. These lessons became guiding principles as I cautiously began dating again nearly a year after the broken engagement. A chance encounter with Amanda occurred at a mutual friend's birthday party. I had known she might be there but decided to attend anyway, refusing to allow her presence to dictate my social choices any longer. When we inevitably crossed paths, her approach surprised me. Rather than showing growth or reflection, she maintained that I had been unreasonable, that she had only been protecting herself. Her continued justification of her actions confirmed that ending our relationship had been the right decision. I walked away from that brief conversation, feeling only a detached pity for someone unable to recognize their own harmful behavior. Looking back from the perspective of 18 months later, I could clearly see how much happier and healthier I had become. My career had flourished without the constant emotional drama draining my energy. My relationships with family and friends were stronger than ever. I had developed a new appreciation for my own resilience and judgment. The pain of that period had transformed into valuable wisdom that guided my choices moving forward. Dating after such a significant betrayal required courage and vulnerability. I approached new relationships with both caution and openness, establishing clear communication about values and expectations from the beginning. Some connections were brief, helping me better understand what I truly wanted in a partner. Others lasted longer but ultimately were not right. I learned to trust my instincts and recognize both green and red flags more quickly. Meeting Denise at a professional conference was unexpected. Our conversation began about software development but naturally evolved into broader topics. What struck me immediately was her straightforward communication style and transparent approach to everything, including finances. On our third date, she casually mentioned her student loan debt and her 5-year plan to pay it off. This unprompted honesty was refreshingly different from my experience with Amanda. As our relationship developed, her consistent integrity and equal partnership approach confirmed that healthy relationships were indeed possible. The most valuable lesson from my experience with Amanda was understanding the difference between compromise and sacrifice. Compromise involves both parties adjusting to find middle ground. Sacrifice involves one person giving up something important, with no reciprocation. I had been willing to sacrifice my financial security, autonomy, and self-respect to maintain a relationship that offered the illusion of partnership without the substance. Now I understood that true partnership enhanced rather than diminished each person's individual strength and agency. Financial transparency became a non-negotiable value in my life. With Denise, we established open conversations about money from the early stages of our relationship. We discussed our financial goals, debts, saving habits, and spending patterns without judgment or manipulation. When we eventually moved in together after a year of dating, we created a fair system that respected both our individual and shared financial responsibilities. The contrast with my previous relationship highlighted how healthy financial dynamics should feel. The journey from heartbreak to self-discovery taught me that walking away from the wrong relationship, no matter how painful, creates space for personal growth and eventually the right relationship. The house that once seemed to represent my future happiness became a symbol of a bullet dodged. My condo, though more modest, represented something far more valuable: authentic choice and self-determination. Looking back, I realized that what appeared to be the end of my future was actually the beginning of a better one. The experience, though painful, led me to a deeper understanding of myself and what I truly valued in relationships. I learned to trust myself, to recognize manipulation, and to require respect and equality from a partner. These lessons were worth every difficult moment of that challenging chapter in my life. In sharing this story, my hope is that others might recognize similar warning signs in their own relationships before making life-altering commitments. True partnership means supporting each other's growth and success, not controlling assets or establishing power imbalances. It means building a future together where both people feel secure, respected, and valued. I would love to hear your thoughts about this experience. Have you ever encountered similar red flags in a relationship? What helped you recognize when something was not right? Please share your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing to hear more real-life experiences and lessons learned. Like this video if you believe in the importance of equal partnership in relationships, and share it with someone who might benefit from this perspective. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most meaningful growth.